Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Chaotic Christians podcast. Today is Tuesday, October 16th. I'm one of your hosts, Scott.
And I'm Kathy.
Doug and Lindsay are out of town, right? I think.
They're on their way back.
They're on their way back, but they couldn't be with us tonight. That's cool. I'm sure that when we have them next time, they'll catch us all up on what's been going on with them. So wherever you're at, Doug and Lindsay, come home safe, even though I know you won't, right? You'll probably drive like 80 miles an hour, but we won't talk about that. All right. So every week we talk about how's your week, 1 to 5 stars. I'll go first. Crazy week. Last 2 weeks we've been launching our new product with my company, and I'm getting ready for a worship concert at church. So crazy busy lately, as well as a little bit of traveling today, doing some extra work. So I'm going to say a hard week, but a good week. So I'm going to say 4 stars out of 5. Good stuff. How's your week?
I'm going to go with 4 stars. Very busy. Trying to get my whole week's worth of work into 3 days and then go to the Covered Bridge Festival Thursday and Friday and work my Tastefully Simple. So,
okay, why don't you explain to everybody what the Covered Bridge Festival is?
The Covered Bridge Festival is a festival where they celebrate covered bridges. It's in Park County, Indiana, and that's Parke. And they have a lot of the red bridges that go over the roads that, you know, in the 1800s, were built in the 1800s. That, you know, that kind of stuff. So they've got bridges otherwhere, like, you know, what is it, Bridges of Madison County or something like that was a movie.
Right.
With Clint Eastwood, but this isn't where that was.
Right.
This is in Indiana, Western Indiana, Central Western Indiana. Yeah,
lots of arts and crafts, cool stuff, like handmade stuff. Every year it gets a little more commercial, like people bringing stuff made from Taiwan and stuff. But I love going to check out like the real artists and craftsmen who are doing stuff while they're there. Kind of bummed I can't go because I do like to buy like a piece of art or something every year, but I'm not going to be able to go this year because of the worship concert we're working on. But it's all good. All right, well, Doug and Lindsay aren't here to talk about the ball and chain, so we can skip right past that and go right to...
Should we fill in for them?
Oh, yeah, we can make it up for them.
I was going to say fill in with us instead of them, but...
Oh, we could do that if you want. Do you want to talk about our relationship and how things are going?
How are things going?
I think they're going well, for the most part.
We've been really busy.
Yeah, October's been a lot busier. Like, you always assume the summer's going to be busy, right? And the summer's just going to fly apart. But I didn't expect for October to be as crazy as it's been. But I think that I'm getting better, like in general, like over 6 years, looking back from day one to now, I think I've become a better communicator.
I don't know that I have.
Right.
I like to be passive aggressive. I want you to read my mind.
No, I don't. Yeah. And I also think, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, I think I've been doing better at not necessarily doing the things that make me feel good, but doing the things that are best for the family. And I think I feel like I've been getting better at that as well. And a couple times it's meant making some decisions that were unpopular by half the family, but I still think they were the right decisions. So I feel like
you mean like changing churches?
This last time, like we changed churches several years ago, and that probably was not a good decision. But this last church move we made, I'm very confident was the right decision. Even if we wouldn't have landed at the church we're at now, I still think it was a good decision to leave.
I think landing where we are now is a good thing.
It's an interesting thing. If you guys are ever in the North Indianapolis area, I invite you to come to Christ Community Church of Lemong in Sheridan, Indiana. I always wonder why they call it Christ Community Church of Lemong, because it's not in Lemong, it's in Sheridan.
It's on Lemong Road.
Yeah, I know, but of Lemong makes it sound like it's in the city of Lemong, and it's in the city of Sheridan.
I had trouble finding the website.
Yeah, so a little crazy. But if you're ever on the north side of Indianapolis, come check us out, come visit at 10:30, and let me know that you found us through Chaotic Christians. All right, so check it out. Every week, we scour the web and the world for cool stuff that's interesting. We like to share what we found. So what have you found this week that's worth sharing?
Okay, well, last week we had a couple friends over to carve pumpkins, and we'll probably be doing it again with Doug and Lindsay since they missed out.
Yeah.
And so I don't like coming up with my own ideas, so I went on a website called pumpkinglow.com. PUMPKINGLOW. And that has some great patterns, and this year they actually had some cartoon patterns on there, and I got to do a Charlie Brown face for my pumpkin this year, so that was really fun. And they had a bunch of other ones on there. And they also have things, it's not just your traditional pumpkin carving. They also have other kinds of carving and how to carve out a watermelon and just put a light inside it without actually, you're not actually cutting through it, you're just carving it so that the light shines through the outside of the melon. So it's a very cool site.
Yeah, all sorts of neat patterns there. My check it out for the week is a blog by a person named Bob Lefsetz. So the website is www.lefsetz.com. Lefsetz. And Mr. Lefsetz is I guess you'd call him a music industry insider. He's been part of the record labels. He's operated outside of them. Now he runs this blog that everybody reads, including the music labels. And he talks about music and technology and about how the record labels don't get it, about how the artists don't get it, and how everybody just needs to raise their game and figure it out. Because ultimately, it's the consumers that are losing out. And as long as consumers feel like they're losing, they're going to continue to pirate music and all that other stuff. And so this person's really a champion of wanting the industry to figure it out so that we can get back to making good music again and enjoying good music. So that's lefsetz.com. He's really smart, really opinionated, and I think that you'll really enjoy it. And if you heard that beeping, that is my coworker Eric. His phone is the loudest phone ever. But it never fails to get our attention. So I guess it does its job well in that regard.
You know, I can't remember the last time I actually bought a CD. Other than for you,
yeah,
I don't think I've bought a CD for myself since we've been married.
Yeah, you know, occasionally I buy one, but only if it's like an impulse buy. Like I want it now and I can't wait to get home to buy it online or something. You know, like I want the CD right now so I can throw it in the car and listen to a song right this moment. But otherwise, I've been very happy with iTunes Music Store. And Amazon's Music Store has also made me very happy because the quality is every bit as good as iTunes, and they're DRM free, which means I'm not tied down to an iPod if I don't want to be.
Oh,
so,
okay.
If you're going to buy music online, I would highly recommend checking out Amazon first before you go to iTunes. Just my 2 cents, though.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Crazy Christians. Every week we talk about those Christians who make news or are news that make you scratch your head and say, really? Is that really what the church is about? And this week, once again, our good friends over at One News Now have not failed to deliver on on Stupidity Supreme. And so this is an article credited to Allie Martin on October 15th, and the headline reads, Christian youth expert says most teens are swayed by society, not God. And this was based on a book that was written by Jeffrey Dean. 2 books. The first one being Watch This, a Getting Their Guide to Manhood for Teen Guys, and This Is Me, a Teen Girl's Guide to Becoming the Real You. And essentially, the book just tells us what we already know, that that young men and young women in that age bracket are heavily influenced by media, by their peers, by the lack of strong adult role models around them, and as a result, biblical truth is not the standard by which they live their lives, but by the approval of all these other outside forces. And so I'm thinking to myself when I read this article, duh! Like, is this really a revelation of any sort? Like, even for you, like, you grew up in a Christian home, you accepted Christ, like, very early in your life.
Yeah.
But, like, as a teen, were you always, like, the Bible this, the Bible that, the Bible's next thing? Or, was your social situation part, a part of, like, the decision-making process in those teen years?
I was, I gotta think about that. I was really involved with youth group, though, the second half of high school, so everything was revolved around youth group and the youth activities, so God was a major part of my life.
Right.
So I probably wasn't your typical teen, but
yeah.
I think some of my other friends in high school were very influenced by the parties they were going to and the people they were hanging out with and things like that. And
yeah.
I had one friend that came to youth group with me, so I influenced her the other way.
Right.
Into getting out of the parties and finding God and living her life for God. So.
Right.
But I can see that 99% of the people around me were
Yeah.
into that. And even kids in youth group, I think, were
Yeah.
influenced by what's around them and what's in the society.
I remember when you and I were both youth leaders in our youth group in Chicago, and you know, I especially remember our young girls, many of whom hungered for affection from young men, getting pregnant before they're married, etc., etc., etc. And that happened a lot more than I thought it would. Like, I didn't think it would be as pervasive as it was, but it really was. Like, even for the girls that I thought were well-centered, there was still kind of like this longing for, like, I need a boyfriend, no matter what, you know?
Actually, there's a lot of people that were right above me or my age that were pregnant before they were married as well.
Yeah.
In my generation, but that wasn't where I was at, but, I mean...
Right.
It's not just... I mean, it was youth group kids, too, like you said,
Yeah.
so, I mean...
Yeah, and we know now. I mean, now that we've gotten so good, not we, me and Kathy, or the Chaotic Christians, but now that we have companies like the Barna Group who make it their lives work to get these statistics on Christians and non-Christians, and we have all these kind of censuses and polls and kind of things, we know that whatever statistics are true for most people, those statistics are pretty accurate for the Christian population as well. You know, so we know that divorce runs just as rampant in the church as it does, you know, out in the rest of the world. We know that abortions happen in the church. We know that, you know, pregnancies before marriage happen. And so this is no surprise that kids are swayed by something other than the Bible.
Right.
So, if you're a parent, or if you're a kid who isn't swayed by these things, make a difference. Get involved with those kids who are off the beaten path, and help them find the path again. You know, and if you're a parent and you're just wondering what to do, there's so many resources out there. And I'm assuming that even at your local church, there's probably a youth pastor or a pastor who used to be a youth pastor that's willing to dive in the trenches with you and help these young people out of whatever situation they're in.
Right.
Okay. So that's our crazy Christian for the week.
What else you got over there?
Well, every week we talk about something. What were we going to talk about this week? So, every week we also, as well as kind of criticizing in our fun way, poking fun at the church, we also like to do something that's kind of encouraging or somehow challenge you to do good things or do right things as well. And earlier in the podcast, you heard me talk about the worship concert we're going to be doing on this coming Sunday at the church. Which is cool. You know, it's the church's 21st anniversary, which is kind of a bizarre number to have a big powwow, big to-do about.
I think it's 21st on the 21st, so
yeah,
that was the big thing.
Kind of thing. But they're doing a whole afternoon of, like, games and fun and food, and they're going to cap the evening off with a concert. And I don't know how much of a cap that's going to be, but it'll be cool. It'll be fine.
We'll see.
But it reminds me that we as a church are very focused on bringing people in or luring people into the church, so to speak, you know, kind of fishing for people and then bringing them back to the church. And once again, you know, I'm given a real world example of how the church has kind of given up on going out into the world, you know, and really, you know, making believers of all men and that kind of thing.
You mean going door to door like the Mormons or something like that?
Well, it doesn't have to be door to door. Like, let's say, like, all you do is make, you know, go buy 5 bags of bread, make peanut butter and jelly, get a big thing of coffee going, and just go
back to this again.
Well, anything that gets you out of the church and into the community, right?
Well, we're going to be out of the church and into the
parking lot,
the yard,
yes,
and the field.
Right, but the ultimate hope is that people see what we're doing and they come, and that's not what Jesus sent us to do. Jesus said, "Go out into the world."
But I mean, we are going outside. It's a community event for the community to come to for free. So I mean, that's part of it. But I understand where you're going with that you need to go out and walk the streets or go out to the malls or that kind of stuff. But I think they're both valid.
Right, and I'm not
activities.
And I'm not talking about traditional street evangelism, like walking up to somebody. Do you know Jesus? That's not what I'm talking about.
Do you mean handing out tracts at the Indy 500?
No, I don't even like that. Like, I think that Joe Average smells a sales pitch coming a mile away. So whether the sales pitch is on a college campus saying, hey, we'd like to give you a credit card at 20% interest, or if you're in the mall and somebody goes, hey, would you like to take a survey? You know, I think people know a sales pitch when they hear it. And I think when a Christian walks up to somebody with a tract, or, you know, hey, can I talk to you about eternity? I think people, for the most part, they know what's coming, and their immediate response is no, or thanks, I already accepted Christ. Like, and it's a conversation that ends quickly. So I think something that made, like, one idea that's, well, I think would actually hold people's attention would be like here in Indianapolis, we have this, what we call the circle downtown, and it's kind of like an area in the middle of town. There's this big phallic symbol in the middle of the city. It's a statue, it's a war memorial, because that's what it is, right? But it's called the circle, and you can do all sorts of cool things down there, like have a concert if you want. You know, go out and get the permits and do whatever you need to do, and you can have a concert downtown in the circle. And so why not just have a concert? You know, and so you do 2 or 3 hours of music, and let people walk by and gather around or whatever, and maybe you do 2 or 3 minutes of talking and evangelizing. But you're getting out there into the world, and you're preaching the message, even though the message is in a container of music and rhythm and loudness, it's still the message. And it seems to me, if we ever hope on kind of like doing something other than stealing people from other churches, but actually reaching people who have either rejected Christ or don't know Christ, it seems like we need to get more creative than we are in general. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I see other things, like, I mean, if you have a big community event, I mean, there's a church on the north side that does a big community-wide event where they've got games and things like we're going to do on Sunday, and I think that does bring in the community that lives directly around them. And that's all they do. They don't, you know, they just open it up to the whole community, and all the people of the church just volunteer. Mm-hmm. And they're not trying to bring them into the church. They're just trying to give them a family fun day for free for that neighborhood.
So if you were to guess, what percentage of those people are Christians, and what percent of those other people just want to enjoy food and enjoy games, how would you break it down?
I don't know. I have no idea.
And
I think they're a lot more. Maybe 80% would say they are Christians, but I don't know that they're church-going, actively worshiping God type of Christian.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a high percentage of people in our country that say they're Christians, but they don't go to church even.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, my thinking is just that people tend to stay away from churches unless they're comfortable with Christian thinking, regardless of whether they're Christians or not. They at least have not come to the point where they just out and out reject Christian thinking. And once again, for me, it just doesn't seem like drawing people in is as effective as going out.
But aren't you going out and then that's bringing them in? I mean, isn't your goal to bring them into the family of God? So it's still a bringing in.
You're right. But I could care less if I bring somebody into my church or a church down here or a church anywhere.
Right.
You know. But, you know, and just to this particular point, you know, an event like this specifically brings people to our church.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not criticizing or say don't have the event. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Right.
I'm just saying that...
Maybe you should have an event outside of yourself.
Right. I'm saying that this event is probably not the best evangelical tool in our toolbox. You know? This is something that's probably good for the body of believers in our church and the body of believers in the community. Mm-hmm. You know? But if we're really serious about going out into the world and reaching the people who don't know Christ, that we probably need to start getting innovative in our techniques. Mm-hmm. You know? We have a new cable package on our TV. We got the AT&T Uverse, if AT&T wants to sponsor us. But it's cool. Lots of channels, lots of Christian channels. I think we have like 10 Christian channels now. And most of them I don't watch because it's the same old televangelist kind of fare. Mm. But there is one channel called JCTV. And the majority of the time they're showing music videos for the most part. So I do tune into that. So, and once again, something different and innovative that will capture people's attention instead of just the same old want. I've heard it before, and I'm flipping the channel. I could see somebody flipping the channels and stopping here and mistaking this for like MTV or something. Maybe not like that high quality, but they say, oh, this is like another music channel, and they might actually.
Excuse me.
God bless you. They might actually stop for 2 or 3 minutes, and actually listen to what has to be said. Innovation. That's what we're talking about. Innovation. Be innovative. Do innovative things. And if you're going to do the same old, don't be surprised when you get the same old kind of results. But then again, if the same old results are leading dozens and dozens of people to Christ, then don't mess with it,
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right. And that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
I'm sticking to it.
Is that it?
I think so.
What's our housekeeping?
Housekeeping stuff. All right. As always, you can communicate with us in a myriad of ways.
You can leave us a voicemail at 317-468-9199.
Leave your name, tell us where you're from, your church, whatever, and let us know that we have permission to use your voicemail on the podcast.
You can send us an email at chaoticchristians.com.
Definitely.
You can find the show notes at www.chaoticchristians.com.
And you can leave us comments at the website as well. We'd love to hear from you, love to hear what you thought. If you disagree, if you agree, we'd love to have the conversation with you.
And if you just want to phone in and hear the podcast, 408-538-2172.
I don't know that anybody's ever emailed us or called us and told us that they listen to us on the phone. But it's certainly an interesting idea.
I should remember that. I should program it into my phone, then I could just call it
just
when I'm on the road.
Like, here's our podcast. Yeah, totally.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
So I think that's it for us this week. Hopefully Doug and Lindsay are back with us next week because they always bring a fun element to everything.
Definitely.
And what you're seeing behind us, like, we're not in the kitchen of our house this week. You're seeing a white wall. So this is the beta version of our video studio. Hopefully, we're either going to get a green screen back here, or else we're going to do something very cool with like a faux brick or faux something to give it a cooler look. And we're going to design this out to be. This is going to be the video area of the house.
Tastefully Simple took over the kitchen, so.
Yeah, Tastefully Simple took over the kitchen, so I'm taking over what used to be the family rooms for my studio. So check this out and watch it evolve, and let us know what you think, and give us any recommendations for what we can do to make this kind of cool. Besides putting in a big 50-inch screen TV that will never come.
Yeah, never. Coming.
No, I know. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Have a good week. Bye-bye. God bless.